Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I am Charlene Aaron. Activity on the Korean Peninsula continues to trouble the world. World leaders are condemning North Korea after its biggest ever nuclear test. As South Korea flexes its muscle, the North plans another missile test. Dale Hurd has the story.
As tense as the standoff with North Korea has already become, it could get worse. South Korea believes the North is planning another missile launch within a few days. The test launch of what some suspect will be an intercontinental ballistic missile capable of hitting the United States could come this Saturday. That's the anniversary of North Korea's founding, and leader Kim Jong-un may want to show off his ability to target the U.S. with nuclear weapons.
The stakes could not be higher. The urgency is now.
And at a special meeting of the UN Security Council Monday, the U.S. repeated its warning to North Korea.
Nuclear powers understand their responsibilities. Kim Jong-un shows no such understanding. His abusive use of missiles and his nuclear threats show that he is begging for war.
Japan, which had a North Korean missile fly through its airspace, told the Security Council something must be done.
The Security Council must act to stop North Korea from continuing down this road.
South Korean warships conducted live fire exercises at sea today in a show of strength after the North conducted its biggest nuclear test ever of a hydrogen bomb. On Monday, Seoul used F-15 fighter jets and land-based ballistic missiles to simulate an attack on North Korea's nuclear test site, to strongly warn the North over the recent detonation. China has begun nuclear radiation emergency drills along its border with North Korea. President Trump asked in Washington if he would attack North Korea, said, "We'll see." Russia, China, and the European Union all claim there is no military solution to the crisis, but all have condemned North Korea.
The path undertaken by North Korea is dangerous, irresponsible, and illegal. They're playing with fire, and the flames could rapidly spread to the entire region and the whole world.
No U.S. military action appears imminent, and UN Ambassador Haley has called for the strongest possible sanctions against the North. And the Trump administration is looking for penalties against nations that do business with North Korea. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
The worst isn't over for many Texans in West Houston. Authorities are releasing more water from dams in the area, bringing even more flooding. CBN's national security correspondent Eric Rosales shows us the new damage it will leave behind.
We're in West Houston, just about a mile or so away from where the releases took place, and you can see the damage that was left behind. This is pretty much the only way that you can get around in the neighborhood in Houston. It's about 5 to 6 feet of water that is gradually going down, but the results inside many of these homes is catastrophic.
It's completely wiped out. Everything's at least within 2 feet of water, at least up there. All furniture's gone, appliances, everything.
Engineers tell CBN News the rush is on right now for hundreds of thousands to get as much as possible out of their water-soaked West Houston homes, because over the next 5 days, more water has to be released from 2 nearby reservoirs, which were built in the 1940s. Emergency workers say the dams are showing their age and could give way if more water is not released to ease the pressure on them. Meanwhile, people have been going through their homes and taking stock of the damages.
We lost a lot, but it's just worldly possessions.
They are just grateful to fellow Texans, strangers who have showed up at their home to help rip out the carpet and drywall.
There's so much beauty that the Lord is bringing out of this. I just can't tell you. It's worth it all almost, because it's really what it's all about. It's the bride of Christ being together in one.
We're blessed. We're truly blessed to have some friends who had a house to allow us to move there and say, look, don't worry about it for now. Just get in, get your stuff in there. It's your home, and be blessed.
The whole Church Unlimited network. Raise your hands. Raise your hands. All right. That's all.
In Rockport, along the Texas coastline, and nearly a dozen other cities throughout the state, Operation Blessing is providing people with important supplies they need, along with emotional support.
I need y'all to fill this out front and back. There's 4 pages, lots of signatures.
Working side by side with FEMA crews, Operation Blessing volunteers help clean up what Hurricane Harvey left behind.
I feel real bad, and that's why I came out here to help out and, do my part, into helping out. Something. It's little something, but something.
But through it all, Texans are strong, resilient, and know God will bring a brighter tomorrow.
And y'all are out there helping more people. Operation Blessing, y'all are the only people that I've seen out here helping right now. Operation Blessing, the word blessing y'all are a blessing right now to us here in this community.
God bless them. Hurricane Irma could be on a collision course with the U.S. It grew into a powerful Category 4 storm Monday. Irma is heading straight to the Caribbean and could hit southern Florida by Saturday. Residents are already getting a head start by stocking up on water, batteries, and lanterns. The storm had maximum sustained winds of 140 miles per hour. The U.S. National Hurricane Center said additional strengthening was expected. A state of emergency has been declared in Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and Florida. Well, across the country, Dreamers are protesting President Trump's plan to end the DACA program. Dreamers are the children of people who came to the U.S. illegally. DACA allows them to work and go to school in the U.S. The president is expected to announce today that he's phasing out the program over the next 6 months. Some members of President Trump's Evangelical Advisory Board are asking him to protect the Dreamers. The Washington Post reports that Atlanta pastor Jensen Franklin and others pleaded with the president to preserve DACA last week in a meeting in the Oval Office. Well, Congress is back in session after a 5-week recess, but there is growing pressure as legislative deadlines quickly approach. The immediate focus will be sending $7.9 billion in disaster relief for Hurricane Harvey victims. But Congress also has to fund the government and increase the U.S. debt ceiling by the end of the month. And with the president's decision to end the DACA program, it is now up to Congress to come up with legislation to help the Dreamers. Well, it is a new medical breakthrough so controversial it's seen as both an answer to prayer and a potentially frightening perversion of the human race. Lori Johnson explains how editing human genes to get rid of sickness sounds like a great idea, but it also raises concerns it could lead to a brave new world of designer babies.
Many of us know someone who inherited a gene that caused them to get a terrible disease like Alzheimer's or cancer. Now, scientists say they've developed a technique to get rid of those problem genes and therefore the diseases they cause. It's called gene editing. As the name suggests, scientists remove the bad gene and replace it with a healthy one. They did this in an Oregon lab by replacing a gene in a human embryo that caused a potentially deadly heart condition. The embryo was later destroyed. Scientists say gene editing will allow them to prevent a whole host of other inherited diseases, but some don't like the way the process is being tested.
The concern here is that what they did is effectively killed a number of embryos in order to get the genetic change that they want. And we believe that that could have been done later in the process to actually treat even an unborn child or a child with that disease.
Another worry is that this could lead to the creation of so-called designer babies, where scientists alter an embryo's genetics not to save a life or prevent a disease, but to make the person better looking, better in sports and school.
With this technology, we're talking about altering life and altering the germline heredity of people, and that creates a lot of concerns for us and a lot of other people.
Many in the scientific community share that concern. Scientists who gathered from around the world in Washington, D.C. last year said gene editing should only be used to save lives and alleviate suffering.
People start talking about eye color, hair color. Sometimes people start talking about things like memory enhancement or muscle mass and things like that. And I think we really need to be careful about that because, quite frankly, some of that involves very, very complicated science in terms of the numbers of genes that you'd have to manipulate, etc. And at least for now, that's not the game.
It's difficult to prevent those experiments from happening, but what you can do as a community is set clear guidelines about what would be an acceptable experiment and what would be an unacceptable experiment, and to not let those people that perform unacceptable biological experiments get away without some form of regulation or punishment.
So while gene editing is still in its infancy, now may be the ideal time to discuss all of the possible consequences of this new technology, as well as ways to control it. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Coming up, the Trump administration is taking on the Israeli-Palestinian peace process. This group of congressmen wants to be sure they're taking the right approach. The U.S. ambassador to Israel raised some hackles in a recent interview with the Jerusalem Post. David Friedman said President Trump will move the U.S. embassy to Jerusalem at the right time, describing it as a question of if, not when. It's something we think about all the time, he said. Friedman also described the relationship between President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as phenomenal. Well, President Trump is pressing ahead with the Israeli-Palestinian peace process. But recently, a group of U.S. congressmen visiting Israel said the situation on the ground is not what it seems.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with Trump advisors Jared Kushner and Jason Greenblatt in Tel Aviv.
We have a lot of things to talk about. How to advance peace, stability, and security in our region, prosperity too. And I think all of them are within our reach.
The president is very committed to achieving a solution here that will be able to bring prosperity and peace to all people in this area.
While Netanyahu's office described the talks as constructive and substantive, U.S. Congressman Mac Thornberry told CBN News the U.S. may need to rethink the solution.
The key fundamental point is that what we have always believed, that there has to be a two-state solution, that Israel can be more secure if it trades off some land, that would become a Palestinian state. Those assumptions are really in doubt, are being questioned. And some of the questions are, what's in the best interest of the people?
Protesting Palestinians expressed their displeasure ahead of Kushner's meeting with President Mahmoud Abbas.
We are totally unhappy that this American administration has conducted no pressure on Israel to stop settlement activities that are killing any potential for peace.
Jewish communities in Judea and Samaria remain one of the thorniest issues in the Israeli-Palestinian dispute. Senator James Lankford told CBN News that worldwide perception of growth in the region is inaccurate.
A lot of the growth, just population growth, what some people call settlements, is really just new people born and new houses need to be built. So there's a lot of those new neighborhoods that are coming up, as well as expansion of existing neighborhoods, just to support the population of so many Jews moving from around the world still to Israel, as well as those that are born here, just needing new places.
And Lankford says there's more that you don't see in the media.
In just a couple of years since I've been in the Samaria area, for instance, there's been a tremendous amount of growth in factories and development. Many of those factories popping up in that area have Israelis and Palestinians working together side by side.
Thornberry hopes there's change ahead.
If we are creative and think outside the box, maybe that there are new possibilities. And that's in everybody's best interest, especially the people who live in Israel and in the West Bank area.
Both congressmen made it clear it's ultimately up to the Israelis and Palestinians to make peace, not the U.S. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Up next, the program that takes at-risk men off the streets and puts them in the gym. Now, instead of going to jail, they're building a business and a future. In Boston alone, more than 50% of the city's shootings can be traced to just 1% of the young people who live there. Segregation and isolation often push these teenagers to violence. A few years ago, a team of trainers began using weightlifting to give violent offenders a second chance. Caitlin Burke brings us the results.
Squeeze your ladder, Miss Dorsey. Good job. Keep your chest tall, stomach tight. Good job. Breathe in.
Personal trainers here at Inner City Weightlifting are considered some of the best in Boston. Trained by world-class instructors, they're sought out by some of the city's top businessmen and women. For these guys, this career isn't the one they anticipated, but as we found out, it's a job that's saving their lives.
Just about all of the trainers here at Inner City Weightlifting have spent significant time behind bars. Now they have a way to get out of the cycle that kept putting them back in jail.
I've been in jail a few times. I've been arrested for a lot of things. The last time I did time was 2013. That was my last case. or a firearm.
At the ripe young age of 31, Carlos Lemon has been shot, seen friends die, and been arrested for things he's done and things he hasn't. Lemon says the violence from his old life wasn't as much of a choice as it was survival.
Putting your gun on your hip is a part of your you know what I mean? It's a part of your what should I say, your outfit, you know what I mean? Like, and it's not like a person's waking up saying, you know, I'm gonna go out and shoot somebody, it's kill or be killed out there.
When it comes to getting off the streets, plenty of programs offer help, but not a real way out.
The streets is what we know, and it's just like, that's our job, that's our home, all in one, you know what I mean? So it's just like, we gotta get it how we get it, because everything else is not going to work out.
They have to worry about rent. They have to worry about food. They have to worry about clothes. There's no way, and they have to worry about that from as young of an age as they can understand those concepts.
That's John Feynman. On the surface, he shares little in common with someone like Lemon, but he has a passion for disrupting the system that Lemon says almost destroyed him. In 2010, Feynman started Inner City Weightlifting, or ICW. One early challenge, how to reconcile his dream of changing lives through weight training with the realities of life on the streets.
Me, being the little white guy from Amherst, Massachusetts that I am, thought that somehow weight training, we could get guys into the Olympics, we'd get them college athletic scholarships. And then we realized early on that most of the students we were working with had been shot. Nearly all had done significant jail time. They're coming from family incomes of less than $10,000 per year. The idea that somehow showing up at 3 o'clock to work out together, cool down, study for homework together, when most of our guys ended up being either expelled from school or dropped out for safety reasons, it was ridiculous. It would have actually excluded the very population of young people we were trying to work with.
Still, the ICW team moved forward, knowing they still had a lot to learn.
The only way to make this model work is to listen, and not to try to solve every problem or think that we have the solution, but instead just to respect the challenges that our students are going through, and most important, be there by their side.
By listening, they discovered ways to improve their program. First, they learned people wanted a true sense of community. Second, many people on the streets lack hope.
For most of our students, their 6-month outlook on life is death or jail, so we can't talk about an education or a career if they're not going to be around long enough to benefit from it.
This is where weight training makes a difference. Not only does it offer community, ICW provides a career track in personal training.
While it does create an income for our students, most important, what it started to do is bridge social capital. Not only is it creating a job, but it was creating this vast network for our students to be a part of, to lean on, to help solve for the challenge that they're facing day to day. And most important, it was giving people an opportunity to see our students for who they are as people, not a statistic on a piece of paper.
If you see me running from Kendall Square to here, and you're my client, or you're a client of somebody in my gym, you know that I'm running to the gym. I don't want you to see a kid that looks like me, he's running, you automatically think he's coming to rob you, he's running from the cops.
Don't give up now, you got it.
In 2016, nearly 400 ICW clients trained with a student trainer. While Sarah Downey originally came for the workout, she told us how her perception of the world changed as she got to know her trainer.
It really is a win-win, because I'm coming here and I'm getting an amazing workout and my trainer is awesome, but you know, they're getting this entire new career in this entry point into this, you know, world that is a lot safer and a lot more accommodating than any of them have been used to. So it really, it is a life-changing workout.
That moved Sarah to use her network to bring her trainer other clients and provide him with odd jobs to make extra cash.
I've hired Eric to come do group workouts with our portfolio companies, and then they've continued to use them, do corporate training.
As communities and networks become inclusive, opportunities become endless. Caitlin Burke, CBN News, Boston, Massachusetts.
I love it. Life-changing workouts happening there in Boston. What a great program. God bless them. Well, we'll be right back. Last Sunday, on the National Day of Prayer for victims of Hurricane Harvey, President Trump attended St. John's Episcopal Church in Washington. It was his first visit to the church since his inauguration, and the very first time he sat in what's known as the President's Pew. Ben Kennedy explains.
Sitting across the street from the White House. St. John's Episcopal Church has served each commander-in-chief since James Madison, the nation's 4th president. Built in 1816, its proximity proved to be a dilemma for church leaders.
They said, what are we going to do to accommodate the President of the United States if he wants to attend a service?
The solution? Pew 54, which for 200 years has become known as the President's Pew.
People would come early to try to sit close by so they could shake the hand of the President when they passed the peace during the service. And that got to be kind of funny, and the rector often tells a story about how the church would slightly tilt to the left because everybody was sitting on the left-hand side when they thought the president was going to attend a service.
When the president's not in town, turns out anyone can sit in this pew. But odds are when the commander-in-chief shows up, Secret Service might kick you out.
I can tell you this pew is never vacant, even at the earliest of the services.
To top that, an 18th century prayer book is put in the pew when the commander-in-chief attends service. That prayer book now contains signatures from past presidents.
Harry Truman, Dwight Eisenhower, John F. Kennedy, George Bush, Barack Obama, Donald Trump.
Oh, so he did sign.
Yeah.
But not every president took advantage of their reserved space.
He would sit in the very last pew on the back door.
That man is the nation's 16th president, Abraham Lincoln.
He would come in quietly, sit in the back pew by himself, and contemplate, pray, do what he had to do to deal with the burdens of the Civil War. And just before the service would end, he would quietly walk out that back door.
The doors remain open at St. John's both as a parish and as a piece of history in the heart of Washington, D.C. Ben Kennedy, CBN News, Washington.
I like that, the President's Pew. Well, that's it for now on CBN NewsWatch. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com. And tell us what you think about the stories you've seen here. You can do that by emailing newswatch@cbn.com or talk to us on Facebook, Twitter, and even Instagram. We hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day.